Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore 2009 Gstaad Classic limited edition of 50 pieces. You can see this rubber-clad, media-blasted titanium Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore limited edition of 50 pieces and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Gstaad Classic limited edition. Now, bonus points in the comment box below to anyone who can identify the movie in which Gstaad and luxury watches were mentioned in the same scene, but we're going to play this one straight. The Gstaad Classic is a tradition in which roughly 100 vintage cars are rallied with great pomp and circumstance by a car club within Switzerland, and over the years Audemars Piguet and its executives have been serial participants. The watch bearing the name Gstaad is part of the rubber-clad family, so you'll recognize it since the early 2000s as the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore with a full vulcanized rubber-clad bezel. Now this does change the fit of the watch, so we're going to get to that since we're talking about fit and feel first. 42 millimeters across the round of the case from 9 to 3, not including crown guards, crown or chronograph pushers. The watch wears in most respects like a standard 42 millimeter offshore. From lug to lug, it's a big watch with a large wrist real estate footprint. Every Royal Oak and offshore wears larger than its nominal size, so this wears more like a 44 because its lug-to-lug span is 53.9 millimeters, and by the time you include the measurement of the incompressible intermediate links from side to side, if you measure these plot intermediate links from side to side, you get a stance of about 58 millimeters across the wrist. So we're talking about a large watch. We're not talking about a heavy watch, though, as the titanium clasp and case really pare down the mass. Now here's where the watch has a slightly non-standard thickness. This is the one dimension that differs significantly from other 2009 Royal Oak Offshore chronographs. Because the rubber-clad, right up until the end of the line in 2011, still had the original JLC 889-based base movement, they were a little bit thinner than the in-house caliber Royal Oak Offshores that were being made at the same time. So whereas those are about 15 millimeters thick, this one's 14.4. So the timepiece is light on the wrist. I mentioned that the titanium really does change the experience, and the titanium essentially means that eyes closed, you would swear that it's about a 40 or 41 millimeter watch, whereas eyes open, you see that immense lug-to-lug span. Realistically, who could wear this watch? I would say down to a wrist of about 14.5 centimeters in circumference, you're going to be okay, because even though the plots extend the watch an incredible 58 millimeters across the wrist, this is not the hornback alligator strap, nor is it one of the integrated bracelets. Because it's a standard alligator leather, and it doesn't have the rigidity of the hornback nor the flare of the bracelets, you can pretty much pull it straight down from those outermost points. It doesn't want to fight you much beyond those plots. So there is a little bit of flexibility. It does throw an olive branch to those of us with smaller wrists. Again, I think about 14.5 centimeters in circumference, no problem wearing it. The titanium is both hypoallergenic against the skin and exceptionally light. The strap is an unusual custom piece created for this model. Rather than the centrally splined hornback alligator leather generally used by the offshores after 2007-2008, this one has a rectangular scale semi-gloss black alligator leather with a contrasting double stitch. This was something that came into vogue in the late 2000s in orange. It's actually Gstaad Classic red, but it does look like orange to the eye. And you'll note a folded flank, the strap held on by screws. I always enjoy when a watch and a strap are bound together by screws or bolts rather than spring bars. This is how every valuable watch should be constructed. The clasp is what you would expect, only instead of having a polished steel or polished titanium unit, you have a AP logo style strap folding buckle that is executed in the same media blasted low glare matte finish. It's very handsome. The tolerances are superb. The case, likewise superb. Now, media blasted surfaces are a matte finish. They don't have a directional satin grain. They're not polished. Instead, if you look at them very closely, they almost have a light pebbly texture about them. But you'll note that you get the same definition, the bevels, the creases, the curves of a standard Royal Oak offshore case. You can see the bevel executed from the hoods of the lugs tapering off toward the center case. You can see the creases that run straight down from the bezel through the case band into the case back, and you'll note that the watch does feature the fully expressed bezel gasket, though on the rubber clad, the two structures can visually blur into a monolith. You'll note that they are still expressed separately. The bezel gasket is present and correct. You'll also note that there's a little bit of chewing to this particular rubber-clad bezel. This is something that Audemars Piguet can rectify during service, but we wanted to offer the watch intact and original as it shipped from the factory and let you make the decision on whether to replace the rubber-clad bezel. All of the bezel bolts, however, present and correct as ever. Stainless steel on the offshore, gold on the Royal Oak. The stainless steel a little bit tougher, and here in high polish, the hexagonal style bolts contrasting beautifully with the rubber-clad bezel. One thing I would actually say is, because the rubber-clad bezel is so good at absorbing scratches, scuffs, and hits, I would actually retain this original unit until you absolutely can't conscience it anymore, because it is a wonderful heat shield for the rest of your watch. You'll also note that the dial features the mega tapisserie pattern with a little bit of a lacquer on top because it has a gloss quality to it, and then white gold Arabic numerals filled with luminova to match white gold baton style hands at center, sub-registers in black with a high contrast white calibration and printing. Let's get a little bit closer here. You'll also note shocks of red, the signature color of the Gstaad Classic, and a tachymeter scale on a brushed metallic Rayhaut outboard that actually swoops down from the plane of the bezel to the plane of the dial, visually uniting the two. And if you do happen to encounter an automobile at a high rate of speed between two known fixed points, you can use the tachymeter to gauge its speed. Start the chronograph up. It is a vertical clutch chronograph module by Dubois de Praz, known as the 2840 in AP speak. So it starts without jump, stops without stagger, and it's on top of a Jaeger-LeCoultre 8900 base, or I should really say it's based on the old 889, but it's now the 89X because it has been converted as of the mid-2000s to a free-sprung balance architecture that's more shock resistant with a laser welded hairspring that's more stable and, again, shock resistant. It also features unidirectional winding instead of the earlier JLC 889's less efficient bidirectional winding, and ceramic rotor bearings to improve the winding efficiency. So you do get the upgraded JLC base movement in this watch. 28,800 vibrations per hour, 38-hour power reserve. It does feature both hacking seconds and a quick set for the traditional Royal Oak offshore sunken date with internal Cyclops eye magnifier. The watch features a screw-down crown and therefore water resistant to 100 meters. Throw it on a water resistant band and this watch is beach capable. It's also a wonderful companion in as much as you're not giving up anything that you would get on a traditional Royal Oak in terms of fit, finish, specification, or artistry. You're just getting it in a bigger and bolder package with a customized case back attesting to the watch's limited edition, as well as the participation by Audemars Piguet in the Gstaad Classic of 2009. You can see this late G Series 2009 model year edition of 50 pieces in media blasted titanium and purchase it on our website. And we are back with the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Gstaad Classic limited edition of 50 pieces. Lovely by the light of night, see it by the light of day on our website.